Hey y'all, it's Pastor Chris here. Happy Friday. Um, as our democracy has been just crumbling down around us, I have been thinking a lot lately about what it means to still continue to follow Jesus in a post-democratic society. Make no mistake, I'm not giving up. I'm not done continuing to stand against evil and continuing to fight for those on the margins as long as I have a voice. And that's actually what I wanted to talk about today is I've been thinking a lot about the concept of agency. So if you don't know, agency is essentially how much you are able to do, how much freedom you have to accomplish things, to get things done. And so different things can give you more agency. You know, if you have obviously money gives you more agency, access to transportation gives you more agency, the people that you know. Living in a democratic society where you're able to vote on the decisions that are made gives you more agency. So when we talk about agency, you know, from a literary or social analysis standpoint, it's about really how much you are able to do, how much power you have, I guess would be a good way to put it. And just because, you know, you live under a repressive government doesn't mean that you don't have agency. So I want to encourage us to think about what our agency is, you know, what our assets are, what we have, what we are able to do, where do you have power, where do you have influence, and how you can make a difference. And so one of the Bible stories that's really been coming to my mind has been the Joseph saga. It's a really long story at the end of the book of Genesis. It takes up the entire end of that book. And for a lot of that story, Joseph doesn't have a lot of agency. You know, he is sold into slavery by his brothers. He goes into Egypt. He works for a guy named Potiphar, and he works his way up. He's given agency by Potiphar. He's still enslaved, but he is given control over Potiphar's household based on gaining Potiphar's trust. And then, you know, if you know the story, Potiphar's wife comes on to Joseph. Joseph rejects her, and then she tells a bunch of lies and gets him thrown in jail. So, but Joseph is still able to use what agency he has, which is to minister to those who are in the jail with him. He has this ability to interpret dreams. It's something that nobody can take away from him. It's something that God has given him. And he is able to use that in order to change the lives of those around him. I mean, basically, he's just telling them their future, but, you know, he's able to use that agency, and eventually that does get him into a position of power with Pharaoh, all right? And, you know, nobody would say that Pharaoh was democratically elected, right? Or even necessarily a good guy. But Joseph was able to use what agency he had in the position that he was put in order to bring about good for the rest of the world. He was able to use his planning skills and his wisdom to hold back, and his dream interpretation skills in order to hold back, you know, some of that excess food and think long term and plan ahead in order to provide food, life for the people around him in the whole surrounding area over the next 7 years. So Joseph is not the only example. You know, I think of Esther as well. You know, perhaps you have been called and appointed for such a time as this, where Esther is made queen in Persia, and she's able to thwart a plot against the Jews there. I think about Elijah, who stands up to King Ahab and Jezebel and their abuses, and he has to run and flee for his life, but he still has his words. He still has his prophetic voice that he gets from God, and he's able to continue to speak out against the injustices of the king. So I want to encourage us, and again, I'm not I'm not saying that I'm giving up. I'm going to continue to get out there. I'm going to continue to protest. I'm going to continue to stand for folks. I'm going to continue to speak. I'm going to continue to act. And this is not over, but it has been depressing for me, and I'm sure for you, to see all of these things crumbling around us and feeling powerless, feeling like we don't know what to do. But I want to remind us that we do have agency. Just instead of thinking about what you can't do, think about what power do you have and what can you do, and then let's go from there. So that's my word for you today. I love all of you. I wish you a wonderful weekend, and I will see you in the next video.